Hey everyone, happy college football. Welcome to Porcelain Picks. I'm your host, Andrew Fabian. Coming to you Wednesday, day before the college football playoff semifinals kicks off with the Orange Bowl. Tomorrow night, Thursday at 7:30, when the Notre Dame Fighting Irish play my alma mater, the Penn State Nittany Lions. We come to you at Porcelain Picks to deliver the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. We've been doing that all season long, all playoff long, and we'll continue that for the next 3 games. Last round, we went 4-2. The first round, we went 4-2. 8-4 so far in the playoffs. That brings our season record to 142, 128, and 1. So we're operating in the green. We're going to continue to bring the winners, starting with the Orange Bowl. All right. Fabian household divided. My dad went to Notre Dame. I went to Penn State. My brothers are Notre Dame fans. A lot of trash talk so far this week. Not really. We're basically just not talking to each other. But just a disclaimer there. I'm a Penn State fan. I always like to say that before I pick Penn State games, although I do evaluate things objectively and give you the picks that are going to be winners. All right, so Penn State, Notre Dame, tomorrow night, 7:30. Major matchup between two blue bloods. This is strength on strength in a couple areas. Penn State right now, a 1.5-point underdog to Notre Dame. It's been as high as a 2.5-point disadvantage on the Penn State side, according to Vegas. Over-under set at 45.5. So what's going to happen on the field of play? Couple question marks. Namely, on the Penn State defensive side, we've got Abdul Carter looking like he's going to play. He's obviously going to be a top 10 draft pick in the draft this upcoming year. He's an All-American. He's their best defensive player. He's a ball hawk. He can play linebacker. He can play defensive end. My money is that he's going to play, but he's not going to be a full strength. He'll have that cast on the arm. He went out against Boise State, in case you're not familiar with that injury. But I think he's going to be playing some linebacker to keep him off the line of scrimmage. He'll do a little spying work on Riley Leonard and be able to dart around. Again, he's their most important defensive player. He's going to play. He's going to get into the game. He's been sending out tweets all week of cryogenic chambers and getting healthy. Not really sure what that's about, but I think he'll be playing and he'll be on the field. Penn State's going to need him against Notre Dame's rushing game. All right. Penn State, a stingy rush defense. You saw what they did against Ashton Jeanty. Jeanty went for 104 yards on 30 carries, so not a high rushing yard average there, although Jeanty did have 16 broken tackles, which is absurd. That's a major amount of broken tackles. Penn State's defense has struggled. They've been trying to tackle guys with their arms. They can't do that against the three-headed monster of Notre Dame. But Jeanty, it was a good game for Jeanty, but Penn State held him in check. They darted through. They were able to hit him behind the line of scrimmage on many occasions, and he wasn't able to break any off for any touchdowns. So Penn State's going to have a similar game plan on defense, again, with Notre Dame's lack of a passing attack, but their excellent rushing attack. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a battle than was Jeanty. That was just a one-sided figure. I think they could narrow in on Jeanty. Again, Notre Dame has Riley Leonard on the offensive side. This guy ran for 80 yards against Georgia. He passed for only 90 yards, so maybe a one-sided offense there for Notre Dame that Penn State has to contend with. I think they do show up well. I think Penn State will be able to stop the run game. The other component there, Jeremiah Love, that he's probably a top 10 running back in college football. He's electric. We saw him run for a 98-yard touchdown in the first round against Indiana. He's banged up. He sat out the second half of the game last week. He lost me a parlay because he didn't get his over on yardage because he was hurt. We'll give him a pass for that. Hopefully he's feeling better and he's back out on the field. It looks like he's going to play. He's been practicing all week, but he's got a brace on his knee, so he is going to be banged up. The good thing for Notre Dame is that they do have other weapons. I already mentioned Riley Leonard. This guy can drop back and take off and pick up just needed yardage. But they also have Jadarius Price, who's their backup running back. This guy started the year as a co-starter along with Jeremiah Love, so he can pick up yardage. He's not quite as electric as Love is. And then they have Aeneas Williams, who's their third-string running back. He got a lot of meaningful carries against Georgia. And again, those guys aren't as electric as Love, but I do think Notre Dame's going to be able to show up with their offense rolling a bit with the rushing game. It's going to be up to Penn State to stop them. I should mention, with Abdul Carter being out with an injury, Vanover, he stepped up last week. We'll see if he can show up again. He had a couple sacks last week against Boise State. Great game for him, and we'll see if Rojas or Dom DeLuca provide some spy coverage on Riley Leonard as well. All right, flipping over to the other side of the ball, Notre Dame's defense, we know how stout they are. Their rush defense showed up in a big way against Georgia, but Georgia struggled to run the football all season long. So is it truly as strong a rush defense? Will they be able to bottle up guys like Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen, Penn State's two-headed monster? These guys both rushed for 1,000 yards so far this season. It's truly thunder and lightning. You see Singleton can rip off big runs. He had a 60-yard touchdown last week. Katron Allen can bulldoze guys. So this is a rushing offense that Notre Dame hasn't really faced so far. So it's, again, strength on strength. We'll see which one prevails. I think the middle of the field is going to be where Penn State, middle of that defensive line is where Penn State's going to target, being that Riley Mills, All-American defensive tackle for Notre Dame, is out hurt. I think they're going to be able to get some yardage up the middle, and that's what they'll try to exploit. We know the passing game for Penn State, it's been run through Tyler Warren. Drew Aller goes as Tyler Warren goes. We saw Drew Aller unfortunately he had a couple drop passes last week on some dimes that he had. But we'll see. Notre Dame's defensive backs are ball hawks. They're top 3 in the country in the secondary. Penn State struggles with their wide receivers getting open. So will Notre Dame be able to show up and load the box and take away the run and get pressure on Aller and force him to make mistakes? We've seen Notre Dame's defense do that all season long. They're very opportunistic. I think they're going to be able to lock down Penn State's offense quite a bit this week. So my picks in this game, I think Penn State with Aller, they can throw the football. I think Tyler Warren, if he can get going, they will have some success through the air to open up that running game where Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen can really take over. Two great defenses. So I have 2 picks in this game. I do think Penn State is going to cover the 1.5. I think Notre Dame could win by 1 point, so I am going to take those points. Penn State plus 1.5. I think it's a defense that Notre Dame hasn't seen. I think Penn State possesses a stronger defense than does Georgia. I think they showed that they can take away the strong running game against Boise State, and they'll try to show up with a similar game plan. Their defense also turns the ball over quite a bit, so we'll see if they can do that against Notre Dame. All right, so take Penn State plus 1.5, lock it, flush it. Also the under, 45.5, lock it, flush it. I think this is going to be a 21-20 game. Either team could win. All right, moving forward, the Cotton Bowl, Friday night, 7:30. We've got Ohio State and Texas. Ohio State's a 5.5-point favorite right now. Over/under set at 52.5. Ohio State's been a buzzsaw so far. They demolished Tennessee in the first round. Tennessee was, by all analysts' perspectives, a formidable defense that was going to be able to potentially quell Ohio State, especially after what Michigan did to them. That was not the case. It was a different explosive game plan by Ohio State. They were able to get the ball in the hands of Jeremiah Smith. And then we saw what they did to Oregon last week. That was really, before we blinked our eyes, it seemed like it was 34-0. Jeremiah Smith really went off. Their stars are showing up when it matters. Will Howard showing up when it matters. And this offense is going to be tough to stop. But will they have the same game plan against Texas? Texas, they went up early on their own front. They went up really early and explosively against Arizona State. They were up 14-3 in the first quarter. But then they let the comeback ensue. They let Scatterbo rush the ball in the second half and get some yardage through the air, even threw a touchdown pass. So Texas's defense bent, but they didn't break. They end up winning in double overtime, and that was all Quinn Ewers. Ewers willed them to victory in the last round. So some of the keys, I think Texas's defensive backs are also top 5, similar to what I said about Notre Dame. These guys have been great in coverage all season long, so strength on strength with Ohio State's passing game. But has Texas really faced elite passing offenses? I'm not sure. They've been banged for their tough SEC or their not so tough SEC schedule. They lost to Georgia both times they played them. But other than that, strength of schedule has been a question mark. Obviously, Texas A&M's pretty good. They beat them at the end of the year. But on the Texas side, I think the running game on the offense really has to get going for them to be in this game. We saw both games against Georgia. They couldn't run the football, and that really was the issue there. So Quintavious Wisner, this guy's a good running back. They also have Jaden Blue in the backfield. These guys got to get the football. They got to pick up some yardage and score some points for this offense. Where Texas also struggles is red zone, finishing off drives and getting into the end zone. They're going to have to do that to keep up with the Buckeyes. I think Texas is going to try to keep this kind of a ground and pound type game. They're going to try to slow down Ohio State's passing game, force them to run. I think Ohio State can do that. They have Trayvon Henderson and Quinshon Judkins in the backfield. This offense just seems too tough to bet against right now. All right, I think Ohio State learned from their mistakes against Michigan. I think that was the shot in the arm they needed. These guys are angry. They're playing that way. I think Ohio State wins this game big against Texas. -5.5 is a gift. Take it. Lock it, flush it. I also like the over in this game. Ohio State's line right now is at 29.5 to their over-under. I'm going to take the full game over because I do think Texas is going to have to play catch-up and throw the football around. I think they'll score some points. We may get a defensive turnover by Ohio State in this game too, or a defensive touchdown by Ohio State in this game too. So take the over, 52.5. Lock it, flush it. All right, those are your 4 picks for the semifinals of the playoffs. Everyone enjoy. We got a Thursday night game. We got a Friday night game. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you comment. Where do you agree? Where do you disagree? We at Porcelain Picks are focused on bringing you the locks you need as you scroll atop the porcelain throne. I'm Andrew Fabian. Happy college football, everyone.